Hello and welcome to part 7 of this video series. We're looking at the repair and restoration of the Bush VHF 64 radio, and it has been off the bench for a while. I need to recharge my energy with it because I'm having a lot of trouble. So I've been working on a Bush DAC 90A radio in the meantime, and now I feel I'm ready to go back to the Bush VH64 radio. At this point, I do really need to make some progress. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm going to make a decision as to whether I can actually repair it or whether to let it go, sell it on as spares or whatever. So let's just see how we get on.
I am going to be sitting in at the Anthony Min Hall all of next week until
today. Nelly Sheila.
Good afternoon.
First up on Name the Real Game, what's the...
Here at the ball as George Horn gets ready for his
Come on with it, trans like us.
As you can hear, the radio's working, but you may or may not have heard a slight little bit of distortion. It's not quite there, but it's actually very loud and it's pretty good. I don't really fully understand what I've done to get this working, if I've done anything at all. I took it off the bench for a while, just to give myself a break and actually try and work out a strategy to get it working again. And I worked on a Bush DAC 90A in the meantime. When I brought this back, I went straight to the alignment process. What was interesting, I had the signal generator set up in the same way as it was before, except really when we're looking at, instead looking at 4 volts on the discriminator or around that area where we need to connect the voltmeter, that was up to 10 volts straight away. And when it did the optimization of the coils, that went up to 20 volts. So that was really interesting. So I actually ramped down the input down to just a few tens of millivolts with the 10.7 megahertz signal generator. Plugged the aerial back in and the radio worked. I thought that was interesting. But because that that slug was seized, I then put the other discriminator back in and the radio stopped working again. So I've got two discriminators. So that didn't work, but that one has both slugs freely moving. So put the other working discriminator back in, the radio stopped working again. Then I did some continuity testing around the radio, and at that point I just knocked off a wire which was connected to the primary of the first IF transformer. So whether that was a bad connection all along and only partly working, irrespective of that, it was knocked off. And when I soldered that back on, the radio started working reliably. However, the other discriminator is still broken. Because I do want to try and make this sound as good as possible, I'm going to try and fix that discriminator. I've actually got some new old stock silver mica capacitors of the exact same value, and I'm going to, when I take the old capacitors off, I'll measure them, and I can measure the inductance of the coils. I know there's continuity in the coils, so I don't think there's a problem there. And I'll obviously measure the capacitors, and hopefully we'll bring that discriminator back to life. And then I'll put it, see if it works, and optimize the radio. If not, I'll put this one back in, because it's not bad sound, and I could probably optimize the quality just by turning the primary of the discriminator a little bit. We might get the quality back, but lose the volume a little bit. But that's what I may need to do. But let's go and fix that discriminator, And let's see if the radio comes back to life and I can get it as sounding good as it possibly can. This is the discriminator, which I believe is faulty, and it's likely to be something associated with one or both of these capacitors, which are silver mica capacitors, 350 volts. So I've actually got some replacement capacitors. The 10 picofarad one measures about 8 picofarads, and the 47 picofarad one measures about 45 picofarads. So these are new old stock 350 volt, so identical specification. And the idea is just to snip off these capacitors and measure them. That gives me a chance when they're out of place to measure the inductance of the coils as well, so I'll make a note of that. Hopefully that will fix it. The reason I want to swap this one back is that the primary and the secondary slugs are freely moving, so it gives me a chance to really optimize the radio when I set that up and do the alignment, and that's really what I want to do. Before doing the discriminator, I thought I'd change the Magic Eye tube, and you can see that's working really well now. That's a lovely tube. Very difficult to, well, you can get these new, but they're very expensive. This is a second-hand tested one, which was still about £12, but a lot better value than the £33 asking price. So I think that's classical FM. That's good. So that's another job ticked off. The new caps are on the discriminator. Look quite neat. The old ones did measure okay, to be honest. So this may or may not work. I'm fairly confident there's nothing wrong with this. So I'm going to put it in and try it anyway. The replacement discriminator is fitted and it's all been aligned, and it just sounds fantastic. If I just turn the volume up. There's really lots of volume in there now. I've only got that volume probably 2/3 the way up, and it just sounds fantastic. There's no distortion on there at all, so I'm delighted. It's just restringing it now, and that's the mechanicals done. It'll be onto the case. It's finally time now to put the dial cord on. I've got some nice new dial cord. What I have done, I've changed the resistor on the Magic Eye because I wanted that just to close up a little bit more, and that seems to have done the trick. The old resistor was right on the edge of its 20% tolerance. So when it comes to the restringing, luckily with these old radios you get a great manual which explains all the routing that needs to be done. I've studied that a few times. No doubt I'll need to have a practice with the cord before I get it absolutely right. So the idea is that there's 2 springs on the spindle of the tuning capacitor. I'll tie it to one of the springs, put a bit of tension on that spring, and then route the dial cord. And when I get round to the finish, I'll just mark off the dial cord where I think it needs to be tied off to put enough tension on the second spring. I won't cut anything at that point. I'll just run the tuning back and forth to even up the tension on the springs, and that hopefully should be that job done. I won't put the pointer on just yet. I'll do that as a second task after this. So that's the dial string done.
Yeah, not the other way around.
It really wasn't a bad job, actually. It's quite easy to do, so I'm pretty pleased with that. I can just test that for reliability before I put it back in the case, and I'll put the indicator on at the appropriate time. The radio's off the bench now. It's working really well. I've been listening to it and happy it's reliable. So I'm going to turn my attention to the case, just get things finished. So looking at the plastics around, I actually don't think it needs a lot of work. The gold here is in very good condition. The gold here as well doesn't really need touching up. I quite like the patina. So what I want to do is just clean this up with some warm soapy water and then dry it off and see what it looks like. Similar thing with the case. The lacquer is in very good condition. So I'm just going to touch up some of the chips and clean it down and give it a good polish. See what it looks like. I've always got the option of redoing the lacquer on it, but you know, it looks pretty good as it is. I do like the antique look. So I'll get on with cleaning this now. And that's cleaned up really well. Very happy results. I'm not going to do any more to it than that. The gold's come up nice. The plastics looks a lot more darker now. It was filthy. This radio's come from a smoker's house, and there's a lot of grub came off this plastic. It's probably never been cleaned in 70 years. I know it's a smoker's house. You can just see it from the speaker grill cloth. It's absolutely filthy. So onto the case now, I think, and I've got a little bit of gluing to do on that, and I'll get that cleaned up as well. That's the case done to a reasonable standard. It's not brand new. The point for me is it's the original lacquer on here, so it's just been touched up. Most importantly, it's passed the wife test. What I've done, I basically just cleaned down the surface with warm soapy water on a damp cloth, not wetting the surface, then drying it off immediately just to get the grease off there. And then the large scratches were wood stained in. There was a piece of veneer on the side which was missing. That's been repaired and wood stayed in. You can't even see that. And then it was just using a scratch restorer or scratch remover to go over the surface, and that's filled in the light scratches. That's got a deep tone to it, so they're pretty much invisible. You can see some scratches, but it's we didn't want this to be perfect. Kept the original authentic colour on there, so I'm very pleased with that. It actually looks really, really good. We put it in the room where it's going to sit, and you can hardly tell really when you've got a slightly flatter light. So very pleased with results. Now on to the grill cloth. One thing I do want to do is actually change this grill fabric. It's obviously come from a smoking household, and it's pretty well had it. It's minging. So what I've done, I've got this replacement fabric. It's not an exact match, slightly lighter gold, but it's pretty close, and it's got a slightly less dense weave to it, which means that the black base, which is painted on the wood, will just tone that down a little bit. So it will change the look and feel of the radio, but I think it'll look great when it's actually done. So the trickiest thing is to get this badge off, this logo. It's held by two circlips on the back there. So I've got to be very careful because it's just plastic. So hopefully I can get those off without breaking the badge. Anyway, it's something I need to have a go at, and let's do that now. And it's time to spray the speaker panel a nice matte black and staple the new fabric to it. So there's the speaker fabric back in. I think it lifts the radio really well. It's a much more yellow gold, but it really does work well with the radio. Got the badge back in. I found out that this was brass. I thought it was plastic, so I was glad I was still careful with it. And all the surround's gone back in really well, the plastic surround there. I've tidied up the speaker wiring and put all that back in place. The key is to document the location and position every single nut and bolt that comes out of the radio, keep a record of it so you know exactly where things need to go back in, because it was quite complex to disassemble. Actually, the reverse process was very straightforward, very simple. So all we'll need to do now is put the dial pointer back onto the radio and put the dial glass back in place, and the chassis is ready to go back in. I've given the dial pointer a nice coat of red metal paint on there. I did get a tip from Don's Radio Shed to use heat shrink. I did order some, but it was arrived. It was the wrong size. Under a little bit of pressure to get this radio out, so I did have some Hammerite paint, which is actually coated on there very well. So I'm just going to put the dial pointer on. I've got the dial glass here, and there's a couple of dots each end of the scale, so I'm guessing that's where the pointer should go. So I've got it at the end of the tuning, and I'll just put a little mark on the dial string just to see if that lines up at the other end. So there's just a couple of clips on the back of the dial pointer, and it's quite easy just to put that on. So I'm just going to tune it to the other end. And that's the other end there. And that's my mark there. So let's just put that on. And actually that lines up very well with the dots there. So I'm going to just check it another couple of times and just fix this dial pointer on. So that's the dial pointer in now. That was very easy to get on. So I'm just waiting for a mains lead now. Did order the wrong type. So I'm just waiting for replacement to arrive, and that'll be here tomorrow evening, and I'll get the radio finished then. So that's radio done now. It's a very big beast, that's why the radio's set well back from the camera. Not the best reception in here.
So all these confirms everything, but in this instance where they're going, okay.
Quite a few channels on VHF still. Yeah, this is going in my living room in pride of place. Yeah, very pleased with that. What a journey. Wow, what a journey that has been, and absolutely worth it all the way, because I've ended up with a fantastic radio that sounds absolutely gorgeous on FM, and it's sitting in my living room and we listen to it a lot and we really do appreciate it. On the journey, I've certainly learned a lot about radio design, particularly of FM designs of bush radios of that period, so I could take those skills going forward. So yeah, a great exercise, one I don't regret at all. So if you do find these videos useful, please remember to like and subscribe. It really does help me along the way. And hopefully we'll catch you with the next project.